Welcome to this deep analysis of feminism, a movement that is not only political and social but also a way of reading history, culture, and above all literature. Feminism has always aimed to challenge patriarchal power structure and to ensure that women can fully express their humanity and freedom. From the fight for universal suffrage to demand for control over their own bodies, the feminist movement has also left a proud mark on English literature. For centuries, women writers had to struggle not only to publish their works, but also to represent female characters as an independent and self-aware subject. Through their stories, they gave voice to women who were silenced, excluded, or confined to narrow social rules, turning literature into a space of resistance and self-expression. Within this context, few novels have been as significant or as widely discussed from a feminist perspective as Charlotte Bronte's and Jane Eyre. Published in 1847, this work is far more than a Gothic love story. It is a subtle yet powerful act of rebellion. Through the passionate voice of Jane, a poor plain and unattached woman, Bronte questions the rigid expectations that Victoria's society imposed on women. Jane's determination to assert her moral and intellectual independence makes her one of the first truly modern heroines. Her famous declaration, "I am no bird, and no net is near me. I am a free human being with an independent will," expresses the central desire of feminist thought, the right to freedom, equality, and self-determination. This text will therefore explore how feminist ideas have evolved over time and how they have found expression through key works of English literature, such as Jane Eyre, which continues to stand as a symbol of women's search for identity and autonomy.
Between the 19th and 20th centuries, the fight for women's legal and political rights intensified, with a central focus on the right to vote. During this period, known as the first wave of feminism, women began to organize into structured movements to demand suffrage, which was considered essential for achieving political and civil equality. This area saw the emergence of the first movement dedicated to protecting women's rights in various countries. In the United Kingdom, for example, the figure of Emmeline Pankhurst stands out, founder of the Women's Social and Political Union in 1903. She fought to secure women's suffrage in Britain, adopting even radical methods to attract public and political attention. Nicknamed the suffragettes, originally in a derogative sense, they played a fundamental role in obtaining the right to vote for women, which was finally granted in 1918. This pace led to concrete results, as women's suffrage was not only a symbolic achievement, but also paved the way for the recognition of basic civil rights, such as access to education, employment, and property. This historical moment marked a decisive change. Women began to be recognized as a full citizen, capable of actively participating in the political and social life of their nation.
In the 60s and 70s, feminism experienced a phase of great expansion and radicalization, known as the second wave of feminism. Unlike the first wave, which focused primarily on the achievement of political rights such as suffrage, this new phase went much further, addressing the deep inequalities still present in a woman's daily lives. The movement began to question not only law and politics, but also culture, sexuality, family roles, and the female body, with the aim of transforming society as a whole. One of the most emblematic slogans of this period was the "personal is political." Feminists argued that even intimate and private experiences, such as marriage, motherhood, sexuality, or domestic violence, were not merely individual issues, but a reflection of the power relations deeply rooted in the patriarchal structure of society. This revolutionary idea led feminism to move beyond the public sphere and to embrace the private one as well, breaking the silence around issues that had long been considered taboo. The demand of the movement expanded in several directions. Central to this wave was the struggle for the right to the self-determination over one's own body, the right to legal and safe abortion, sexual freedom, and the rejection of imposed motherhood. Women began to claim control over their bodies and reproductive choices, calling for legislative reforms and the creation of counseling centers, public facilities where they could receive healthcare and information free from moral judgment. At the same time, there was a strong push for profound reform in family law. In many countries, including Italy, marriage has continued to follow a hierarchical model, in which the husband had legal authority over his wife and children. Feminism denounced this injustice and achieved significant victories. The introduction of divorce, the reform of parental authority on an equal basis, the recognition of domestic work, and legal protection against domestic and sexual violence. Another key aspect concerned the world of work. The 60s and 70s were a period of rapid industrialization and economic transformation, marked by a massive entry of women into the labor market. However, their participation was often limited to precarious, low-paid, and unprotected jobs. Feminists demanded equal pay, equal professional opportunities, and a radical rethinking of the division of family roles. They called for public services such as nurseries, school canteens, and parental leave, so that care work will no longer fall exclusively on women. During this period, feminist groups and collectives were founded and spread throughout the world. In the United States, figures such as Betty Friedan, with her book The Feminine Mystique, gave voice to the frustration of middle-class women confined to domestic roles. Friedan was also among the founders of the National Organization for Women, NOW, one of the America's first major feminist associations. In Europe, Simone de Beauvoir, "The Second Sex", became a fundamental theoretical reference, analyzing the female condition as a cultural and historical construction rather than a natural destiny. In Italy, the feminist movement exploded in the late 60s and 70s, with groups such as the Female Revolt Feminist Struggle, the UD, Union of Italian Women, and numerous autonomous collectives throughout the country. The most significant battles concerned the divorce, abortion, the reform of family law, and the fight against sexual violence, which was recognized as a crime against the person only in 1996. The 60s and 70s therefore represent a crucial era of transformation. Feminism ceased to be a movement for a few and became a mass phenomenon that changed not only laws but also the way society perceived women and their rights. The victories achieved during these years laid the foundation for freedom and protections that many women enjoy today, while also revealing the continuing need for to fight for a full gender equality, a goal that remains distant in many parts of the world.
In recent decades, contemporary feminism has focused a fundamental part of its action on the fight against gender violence, in particular domestic and sexual violence. If in the past these issues were considered private affair, relegated to the family sphere, today, thanks to the commitment of feminist movements, they are recognized as serious crimes that violate fundamental human rights. Feminists have played a decisive role in bringing to light the systematic nature of violence against women. These are not isolated episodes, but a structural phenomenon linked to a patriarchal culture that legitimizes the control, the submission, and, in the most extreme case, the murder of women. Public denunciation, like collective testimony and awareness-raising campaigns, have transformed the way society looks at men violence against women. No longer the fault of the victim, but the responsibility of the entire social and institutional system. Since the 1990s, the first support centers have been created in many countries, safe spaces where women can receive listening, legal protection, and psychological and material support. The center, often created and managed by feminist activists, represent a concrete turning point because they offered a real alternative to those experienced situations of abuse. Feminist campaigns have also had a strong legislative impact. The pressure of these movements has pushed many states to adopt new laws against domestic and sexual violence and to formally recognize such as public crimes. A key movement was the adoption of the Istanbul Convention in 2011, the first binding international legal instrument which recognized gender-based violence as a violation of human rights and imposing precise obligations on signatory states in terms of prevention, protection, and punishment. Feminism has also played a decisive role in its ratification and application, through monitoring action, political pressure, and denunciation of non-compliance. In recent years, global movements such as Me Too, Ni Una de Menos, and Non Una di Meno have forcefully relaunched the feminist struggle in this country, bringing millions of people to the streets and obtaining global media visibility. This mobilization have given voice to stories of violence and harassment that have remained unearthed for years and have reiterated that the problem is not individual but structural. Today, the challenge remains open. Despite the laws, many women continue to die at the hands of partner or ex-partners, and violence still remains too often minimized, normalized, or justified. For this reason, contemporary feminism continues to be an essential driving force, capable not only of saving lives but of profoundly transforming culture and education about respect, equality, and freedom.
Feminism has not only contributed to the achievement of fundamental rights for women, it has also had a profound social, economic, and cultural impact on our society as a whole. Its effect can be seen in many areas of everyday life, from language to the world of work, and even within family relational dynamics. Feminism has challenged the traditional power structure, initiating a process of cultural transformation that is still ongoing. One of the most evident changes concerns the labor market. Since the 1970s, the massive entry of women into paid employment has transformed the global economic and production models. Women have become an essential part of the workforce, although they are still often employed in less valued sectors and earn lower wages. Feminism has placed the center of the fight for equal pay the recognition of okay work and the breaking of the so-called glass ceiling, the invisible barrier that preventing women from reaching the top position. At the same time, family dynamics has also evolved. The traditional family model based on a rigid division between the male breadwinner and the female homemaker has been replaced. Women have claimed the right not to be defined solely by motherhood or domestic role, paving the way for greater sharing of family responsibilities. This has opened a new phase of negotiation within couples, where power is no longer concentrated in hands of men, but a more balanced and equitable relationship is sought, even though in practice the path toward the true equality remains long. On a relational and emotional level, feminism has encouraged a rethinking of the very concept of love and intimacy, denouncing relationships based on possession, control, or dependence. It has highlighted the importance of building relationships founded on mutual respect, consent, and autonomy. The concept of family has also expanded. Today, multiple forms of relationship are recognized and affirmed as legitimate, including same-sex, non-traditional families. The influence of feminism is also evident on a linguistic and symbolic level. The demand for inclusive and non-sexist languages has sparked a broad debate about how words shape reality and reflects power relations. Although resistance and inequity persist, the changes initiated by feminism continue to transform the way we live, work, speak, and love.
Feminism, in its different form and historical phase, has proven to be much more than a movement for women's rights. It is a force for social, cultural, and political transformation that has made society fairer, more inclusive, and more aware. Thanks to its action, entire generations have been able to access rights previously denied to them and to build new forms of freedom and more equitable relationships. Looking to the future, feminism continues to play a fundamental role. Gender inequalities, patriarchal violence, and the emergence of new threats to hard-won rights show that the struggle is not over. It is necessary to continue educating, raising awareness, and mobilizing so that the rights already achieved are not eroded and the new progress become possible, especially for the future generation. In an increasingly interconnected world, awareness of the importance of global feminist solidarity is also growing. Women's struggle in the most fragile contexts remind us that the gender justice is a global challenge. Contemporary feminism, inclusive and intersectional, embraces this international dimension, creating networks of experience, practice, and knowledge that go beyond geographical, cultural, and linguistic borders. Women also play a crucial role in promoting peace and defending human rights. As recognized by numerous international organizations, when women participate in decision-making processes, like in governments, peace negotiation, or community building, the outcomes are more lasting and inclusive. Their active presence is essential for building more peaceful, resilient, and democratic societies. For this reason, the feminist movement is not just about women. It is about all of humanity, its future, and the possibility of creating a world in which equality, freedom, and dignity are not the privileges of a few, but rights guaranteed for everyone. Thank you all for listening to our podcast. See you next time.